Thanks for tuning in to the Customer Success Festival. We really hope you're enjoying the event so far. We've got some incredible sessions lined up for you guys, so don't miss out. Also, if you're looking to connect with our speakers and other attendees, head on over to our Slack channel to continue the discussion. Now sit back and get ready for the next session.
Hello, everyone. This is Erika Villarreal. I am Principal Customer Success Manager at Eptura. And today my presentation would be about how to turn loyal customers into advocates. So let's deep dive into the agenda. Okay, so today's content, the first thing is we are going to talk a little bit about me. What is customer advocacy? Why is advocacy important? The benefits of advocacy, how to turn loyal customers into advocates, how to identify happy customers, and finally, how and when you should ask a customer to be an advocate for your product. Okay, so a little bit about me. I am Mexican. I have somewhere around 8 years of SaaS experience. I've been in the SaaS industry for 8 years. I got the opportunity to co-found a fintech company back in 2014 when I was back in Mexico. I've worked in sales, operations, marketing, and customer success roles in the past. I have been aware of many hats for many years and then found a passion in customer success. I decided that I wanted to go all in customer success around 3 years ago. And I have been doing that since that time. I currently live in Dallas, Texas. I am super passionate about data. I am a process addict, a huge passion for efficiencies and systems. So customer success operations is one of the things that I am really passionate about too. I am a content creator and I also love to travel. I've been to more than 20 countries over the world, and I always am looking forward to my next experience. So that's a little bit about me. Now let's dive into our topic, customer advocacy. When I was doing my presentation and looking for the specific quotes and things about customer advocacy, this one is one of the ones that I found that I love the most. And this one says, the act of building and nurturing relationships with loyal customers who then act as spokespeople and champions for your brand, products, or services. The last part, I think, is one of the most important. They act as spokespeople and champions for your brand, product, and services. So that's what's customer advocacy. And I have a couple of examples here on the next slide to show what advocacy really is. So if you think about the last Netflix series that you watched, for me, that was Cobra Kai. Why did I decide to watch Cobra Kai? Because someone, a family or a friend, reached out and said, hey, I'm watching Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is amazing. You're going to have so much fun watching it. And I heard that from multiple people and from multiple friends. I'm a huge fan of I am a huge fan of Karate Kid. So when I saw that there was this series and I heard all of this great feedback, I was like, I have to watch it. So I watched it and I'm here talking about it because I'm an advocate again for Cobra Kai as well. Then if you think about the last restaurant that you went to, and I'm using here an example of a place that I visited while I was in Amsterdam this summer. If you think about that place, maybe I didn't have anyone to recommend that place, but what's the first thing you do when you're looking for a great restaurant? Of course, you go into Google Review and then you start reading the reviews from people who went there, right? So I found this place that's called Omelette. So if you're ever in Amsterdam, I highly recommend you to go to this place. And it had 4.7 reviews from customers who had gone to that place, right? And not only that, like you could go to the restaurant, you saw a huge line outside of that place, which let me know that, of course, this was a place that I needed to go, right? So I went and I had the best omelettes in my life. So I'm here sharing it with you. This is specifically a review that I left from this place with a picture of that. And that's what happens when you have a really great experience with something, whether it's watching a series or going to a restaurant. Another example that I have to show about being an advocate for a product would be YNAB. YNAB is an expense tracking application. And How did I found about this application? Well, I was looking for another tool because I was using another application at that time. I was a little bit not so happy about it. I had to do a lot of manual stuff and log my transactions manually. So I asked a friend and say, "Hey, what are you using to track your expenses?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm using YNAB. I love this product. They have these amazing features, and you should try it, right?" So I went to YNAB, opened my account, then decided that I wanted to pay for it. And here I am recommending YNAB. If you ever want to track your expenses, this would be a great application for you to use. Now, if you think about advocacy, that also applies to the products that we use. So we have multiple websites where our customers are leaving reviews and talking about our products. An example of this would be G2 or Trustpilot. And I believe there's a lot more other websites where you can leave reviews, but these are the two most popular. So here I am showcasing Condeco's Condeco's reviews on G2, right? So we have 135 reviews, 4.5 reviews, and we're market leaders and so on and so forth. But that only happens because our customers have been happy with our products, leaving reviews online. So that's one of the things that why advocacy is really important. And my next slide will show some statistics of why I think advocacy is also the recipe for success and the recipe for revenue growth. Some interesting stats are 93% of people say online reviews influence their decision to purchase. So think about the last time you went on Amazon and you bought a product there. What's the first thing that you do as a buyer? Or at least the first thing that I do as a buyer is scroll down, scroll down, scroll down to the bottom section of Amazon where you find the reviews. What are people saying about the product that I want to buy? Is it something is it something positive? Is it something negative? Sometimes I look at the video, sometimes I look at the pictures that they post. And for me, it's really important what other people are saying. If I don't look at the reviews, I never buy something online. Then 72% of people will only consider a product after reading a positive review. So what happens when you're scrolling through Amazon and you find like they have, I don't know, three-star reviews and people are saying awful things about the product, it doesn't work, it breaks or whatever. Would you buy a product with those reviews? Of course not. On average, reviews produce an 18% uplift in sales. And think about it, it really makes sense. If someone is talking positive things about your product and then someone's looking for a solution that solves the same problems that these customers are reviewing, then you find that it's easier for buyers to make decisions when they see this type of information online. So that actually makes salespeople jobs easier, right? Because maybe sometimes they logged into G2 and they found a really good review and they were like, "Oh, I'll give it a shot," right? 86% of people hesitate to do business with a company if it has negative reviews. And I think for me, at least, that would be almost like 100%. Like I would never do business if I see negative reviews online. Word of mouth is 5 times more effective than paid ads. And this is really important. And it's also one of the ways that you can actually save money. If you think about it, our marketing teams, our companies are spending tons of different amount of money for paid ads, paid per click, and then they click and they don't convert. And we are giving money to the marketing, I don't know, marketing from Google, Google ads or whatever, right? And they don't convert as effectively as word of mouth. And word of mouth might be from a family or friend, someone who had used their product in the past. And anyway, word of mouth is very, very effective. And I can prove it with the previous slide. Now, 90% of people are more likely to trust a recommended brand. And I think for this example, I'm going to use Airbnb. So what happens when you're looking for, I don't know, you're looking for a place, you're going to the beach and you're looking for an Airbnb, and then you find this amazing place that's like huge and it's cheap and you have an amazing kitchen and everything looks great, but then you realize that it doesn't have any reviews. what's the first thing that you think about? Like, well, what if I book it and then they cancel it? Like, you don't have any feedback from people who recommend this place. Sometimes it gets a little bit difficult to buy something if you can't get that validation from someone else, right? So that happens to me a lot on Airbnb. Maybe you have this type of experiences too, but that's one of the reasons of why that brand is so important nowadays. Now, let's talk a little bit about the benefits of advocacy. First of all, and talking about brand again, it has it has an increase on brand awareness. Now, if I think about the best example of brand awareness that I can share, and I believe that that this company has a great advocacy program, that would be Gong. If you log into LinkedIn and scroll down through Gong, you can see that there's a lot of people who are sharing their experiences with Gong. They're talking great things. They're sharing posts on LinkedIn and tagging the Gong brand. And then you have all of these employees who have their profile pictures with the brand, and everyone at the Gong company, at least, is doing an amazing job promoting the brand, right? So when you hear Gong, it's like, oh, Gong, yes, of course, Gong. And it's easier for them to sell because people already know what this company is about, what they do, what the benefits of this product does, right? So brand awareness is really important, and it tracks back directly to the advocacy that customers are showing for this specific brand. It also helps increase sales conversion rates. And I talked about this earlier. If a prospect is looking for a product and then they realize that this product has really great reviews, well, it makes it easier for these buyers to make a decision. If you are doing your research about a product and you find one that has a lot of reviews, really great experiences, and then you have another one who might have, I don't know, 5, 6 reviews, which one would you trust more? Of course, the one that has more reviews with more positive feedback, right? It also helps reduce the customer acquisition cost. Reduce customer acquisition costs. Why? Because you sign more deals, you bring more customers in from word of mouth, from the efforts that you have with your brand online and so on, instead of bringing customers in for paid promotion or for paid marketing, which is very expensive for some companies. Now think about customer engagement and loyalty. It also drives and increases this, right? So your customers are more familiar with your company, they're engaged with you, they're engaged with other customers as well, right? And that's also always super positive for your company, for your brand. One other thing that's really important in the benefits of advocacy would be that you get valuable insights from your customers. When they're sharing their experience, they're sharing what they like most about your product. Maybe they had a really great experience with your salespeople, or maybe there's a customer success manager who did an amazing job tracking their outcomes. How else would you hear about these experiences if there's now, if the customers are not sharing that online, right? So I think that these are the top 5 benefits of an advocacy program and why it's also very important to have one. Now, the question of the lifetime is, how do you turn customers into advocates? And for me, it's more of a 360 round solution. It's not one thing. It's about everything, right? So turning customers into advocates doesn't really only take into consideration having an amazing product. You might have the best product of all, maybe it's the best experience using their product, but if you have a bad experience with your salespeople, or if you have bad experience with support, or if you had a bad experience in, I don't know, maybe with the invoice that was sent to you, right? So it's a whole thing, it's a whole journey, and it's having a really great experience at every touch point with your company, right? So what does that translate into? Into providing a seamless onboarding experience, and an experience where they're implementing your product. There's no frictions. They know what to do. They know what comes next, and they have a quick time to value. Then we deliver exceptional customer service. And that means that you have a dedicated support team that will help them solve their issues, that they really know your product and know how to solve customer queries, that they have a quick turnaround on issues, right? They are submitting tickets, they're expecting a fast response and a fast resolution. If your customer support team or your customer service team is not achieving this, and a customer is frustrated because they can't get to resolve the issues that they're experiencing, well, bad news for you. That's a friction that will avoid them from being an advocate for your product. Now, think about the challenges, right? Customers come to buy our products because they are looking to solve a specific challenge. If you're constantly listening for those challenges, why did they get your solution? What are their needs? How do we help them solve those problems that they come to us for, right? If we're helping them solve these challenges continuously, then they will be happy with our products. If we promised that we would help them solve X, Y, or Z and we didn't, well, not good news for you. Customers will not be happy. And if a customer is not happy, then there's no advocate for you. Now, another thing that's really important is for the company and the customer success manager to track and deliver on customer outcomes. And it tracks back again to the challenges, right? What is it that they're looking to achieve and how can we help them get there? If we're constantly listening for those success outcomes and iterating as we go, they will always be happy with your product. And if they're happy with your product, then we have an advocate for your company and for the product itself. Another really important part of being an advocate or gaining an advocate is building meaningful relationships. It not only has to do with, again, a great experience or a great customer service or anything like that. It also has to do with building relationships. And those relationships are built with active listening, without a smile always, empathy. We're dealing with persons and with people, right? And it's not always about their company and it's not always about your product. Sometimes it has to do with that connection person to person, listening and just being there for them. It's really important as well. Another thing that's really important is collecting feedback, and not only collecting feedback, but acting on it. I've seen a lot of customers, and sometimes we're guilty of this too. We send CSAT surveys to customers. We ask them for their feedback. And then we hear all of these responses and people, I don't know, providing good feedback and bad feedback. And then we don't do anything with it. What's the point of asking for feedback if you're not going to act on it? So if you have the opportunity to have, like, you have to review this feedback. What are the common challenges? What are the common good things about your product? And thanking them for the time of actually leaving that feedback is really important as well. It doesn't really matter if it's positive or negative. You have always to let them know that you're listening to whatever their feedback is and that you're acting on it. Now, one of the other things that for me is really important as well, and that helps build advocates, is that we deliver on what was promised. And and here it says from the sale, but it's really from everything, whether it's a CSM that promised something, or it was the salespeople that promised something, or it was support that promised something. If we're promising things to customers and then we are not delivering on those promises, then that's a friction for the customer, and that might not help you build an advocate. So it's really important for the company to have really great relationships internally so we can communicate better. And a lot of communication between teams is also helping deliver on what was promised, which is really important. Now, this is one of my favorite stats. It says customers with great experiences are 75% more likely to become advocates. And it makes total sense, right? Like, if you are having the best experience of your life with this product, the product works perfectly, the sales team did a great job selling and promising what was supposed to be delivered. And then you have a customer success manager who's tracking your outcomes and making sure you solve your challenges. And support is giving you the best experience ever, solving your queries in less than 5 days. And I'm exaggerating, but the thing is, like, if they have a positive experience in every part of their journey with your product, they will definitely be happy to talk to other customers. They will be happy to leave a review. And you don't even have to make an effort. Like, hey, can you leave a review for us? And they will be willing to, I don't know, 9 out of 10 times. And I can vouch for this because this is something that I have been really good at. So I can talk about it. Now, one of the things that's really important is, how do we identify these advocates? How do we identify these loyal customers? And how do we know when to ask, right? So if you know me, you know that I am a data-driven person. So for me, every decision that I make as a customer success manager and as a leader is look into the data. What is the data telling me? So there are multiple ways where you can definitely look into this. So the first one of all would be the health scores. Now, health scores really have a lot of variables within the health score. So you can, it kind of like englobates, I don't even know if that's a word. It takes into consideration the CSM engagement. It takes into consideration the sentiment. It takes into consideration the product adoption, support tickets. Maybe there's every company has different settings for their health scores, but if you have one set up, you can definitely tell product adoption how that's going, and that's a very good indication of if the customer is doing well or not. Then the engagement part. If I'm reaching out to a customer and they're not replying to my emails, they're not replying to my phone calls, and they're completely disengaged, well, there might be something wrong in there and they might not be super happy. So taking this into consideration is really important. The relationships parts that I already discussed in the previous slide, building relationships and making sure that you know these people who are part of the other company, who are your customers, right? And having really great relationships so you can build that trust and you can actually ask them to be an advocate for you. The NPS is one of my favorites. NPS, if they're vouching for your product, they're rating you 9, 10, and they're leaving really great reviews and great feedback in there, that's definitely a good sign that the customer might be an advocate, or might be, might definitely be an advocate in the next term, right? Another great indication if a customer is happy is their upsells. So imagine a customer reached out and they initially bought, I don't know, 1,000 licenses. Then comes down 3 months or 6 months, and then they added 500 licenses. And then comes down another 6 months and another 500 licenses. And then 3 months later, they added a new feature or a new product, or they bought for an additional solution, right? So all of these things are great indication if a customer is doing well, because no one will buy more of a product if they're not happy, or at least sometimes, right? And finally, the support part. If they're logging tickets, if they're complaining about something not working, if the product is failing to do what it's supposed to do, if there's issues that they're experiencing and that have not been solved, and you see a lot of these coming in, well, maybe that's not a really good indication of them being happy, right? So if you take into consideration all of these 6 things and you analyze the information, then you can definitely pinpoint which customers would be really great to ask and to see if they would be willing to be an advocate for your product. Now, last but not least, how and when do you ask a customer to be an advocate for you? So for me is, if you're using, for example, a customer success platform, here at Condeco, we use Churn Zero, right? If you are using a customer success platform and you have these NPS surveys that are automated and sent out to customers, you can also automate the responses. Now, one of the things that's really important is that when you're automating your responses, you need to make sure that those automations are also personalized to your customer, right? So if they rated you 9 or 10, and then you can respond to that survey response and say, hey, thank you very much for sharing your feedback with us. I know that you're having a really great experience. Would you be willing to leave a review on G2? Or would you be willing to be a reference for us? Or would you be willing to whatever, right? You get the point here. So that's one of the very good ways to do it. Another good way is like maybe you don't automate it and maybe you analyze the information from the NPS surveys and you say, okay, all of these people decided that they wanted to be references or they wanted to be an advocate. So then you reach out personally, hey, thank you very much for your feedback, maybe on your next touch point with them. And you ask them, hey, I know that you've had a really great experience. We have been chatting for the last year, and I know that we have met your success outcomes and we're doing really great. And we're asking for people to leave a review on G2. Would you be willing to do it, right? It has worked wonders for me. But the important part here is that you tie that ask to value, right? If the customer hasn't seen value from your product, then it will be really difficult for them to be an advocate for you. So what else? If you're in a meeting with a customer and then imagine that you're in a business review, right? And you're presenting your KPIs and you're showing your KPIs for success and you're seeing that there's a specific milestone that they reached that that was huge for them because we had set it in a success plan prior, right? And they say, wow, we made this milestone and we celebrate that milestone with them. That's a very good cue of maybe asking for them to be an advocate later. Maybe not on that same call, but let's say in your next meeting, hey, we've met these specific outcomes, we've made these milestones. We're looking for reviews, or we're looking for someone to be able to tell your story, whether that's in a business case or somewhere else, right? So that's a really good indication of a customer that's happy. And that's a good really indication of when you should be asking that customer to become an advocate for your product. And then last but not least, if you're helping them solve a specific challenge, let's say they came to you and there's a specific problem that they're facing, and then you propose a solution, right? Your product can do X, Y, or Z to solve that challenge, and then you implement that new feature that they needed. And then they solve that problem, right? And they're happy because they got rid of that problem. So that's also a really good indication of when to ask, right? So we solved this problem for you. We're looking for reviews, and that's how I've been doing it. It has been working really well for me. So my recommendation is always listen and try to be like, what's the word? Like feel when they are happy, and then those are the best moments to ask. Anyway, I think we have come to the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for being here. If you want to connect, here's my LinkedIn profile, and I'm happy to do so. Thanks for coming to my session.